Throughout the history of the world, great teachers have made a lasting impact on the lives and the hearts of their students. All of us can recall a certain teacher, a very special someone who inspired us to learn and pushed us to grow and be better. The importance of teachers in society cannot be underestimated. They take on the responsibility of shaping young minds, and they change their lives for the better. This program is a tribute to and for teachers and celebrates the special and often heroic role they play in their students' lives. This program presents some extraordinary men and women whose timeless wisdom echoes the strength, character, and passion of educators all across our district and across our nation. This program is, in our small way, an opportunity to say thank you to those who educate, encourage, empower, and inspire the students of our world. Those who take a hand, open a mind, and touch a heart. Teachers. Joining us at this time is the awesome Teacher of the Year from Rivers Edge Elementary School, Mr. Eric Redding. Mr. Redding, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. It's an extreme honor. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's an honor for us to have this opportunity to speak with you and celebrate this accomplishment for you. He's brought along with her the awesome assistant principal over at Rivers Edge, Miss Valerie Forman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very honored to be here today.
Now, I have a personal connection to both of you guys because I was at Rivers Edge, the school with the Golden Heart. But we may have some visitors viewing that don't know about you. So if you would briefly give us a little bit about your bio.
My bio is I was adopted in Gulfport, Mississippi, and we moved to South Florida when I was 4 years old. And I know one of the questions on the survey was, tell us about wanting to become a teacher. And I've always wanted to become a teacher ever since I was little. I was always a helper. So I was always helping mom and dad and do things around the house. And when I started getting to school, I even started to help my classmates. So I was helping them in various academic pursuits. And this is way before SEL was a thing, but in 5th grade, they had student counselors. Like if you had a problem, you come to me, or come to somebody like that, and they would help you. And I was really into that. And from then on, I was like, the only thing I would want to do is become a teacher. And ever since that, I was working at summer school, at summer camps, and I've went to school, FAU, for a couple years and became a teacher. I've been teaching 14 years. And like I said, that's basically the only thing I've ever wanted to do. I've taught VPK and then skipped a couple grades, taught 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and just about all the subjects. And like I said, I couldn't imagine doing anything more.
Great. Ms. Forman, same thing for you, please.
I am Valerie Forman. I have been teaching at Rivers Edge for a total of 10 years in different grades, as well as the math coach, and now I'm my 3rd year as assistant principal at Rivers Edge. Again,
to both of you, welcome to the show. So, this is a very different year, so I'm going to jump right in because of the pandemic. I also believe it's a very historic year, time for education. What do you do differently, Mr. Redding, because of what's going on with us?
Unfortunately, one of the negative things is I can't do a lot of reciprocal teaching and teamwork. I do a lot of group work. So I teach reading, writing, and social studies, and within those subjects, you find yourself doing a lot of group work to really get the kids motivated and interested. And I find peer questioning is a little bit more effective sometimes than teacher questioning. So, in that aspect, I've had to kind of obviously scale back on that end. I haven't given out as many handouts. I've kind of erased homework. It's kind of on your own. I used to have a reading log with standards-based questions on. They had to answer, bring it back. But we've scrapped that. It's kind of on your own. We've done a lot of things on teams. I've placed a lot of things on teams that I would normally, like I said, also hand out as well. So it's still teaching. We still have a job to do. We still have a mission, and we still do the best we can, but it's just altered a little bit, but the worst will be behind us and we'll have better days.
So because of the pandemic and what we're dealing with, what strategies have you found to be most effective with this virtual, in-person world that we're living in?
Well, the first strategy is I use a lot of thinking maps, a lot of things like flow maps, things like things like describing maps, things like sequencing maps in the classroom, and get the kids really kind of motivated and really kind of picking apart that literature and picking apart. Today we did theme, so we did a T-chart on theme with the characters' actions and their motivations and what lesson can we learn from it. So a lot of thinking maps is what I do.
So we also have to do a lot of collaboration to keep the home informed.
Yes.
So how do you facilitate collaboration between the home and school?
That's a great question. It's one of the things I feel very, very strongly about. One of the things I feel is an area of strength on my end is I send home a daily class tag announcement. We do class tag announcements every day at our school. And I send a class tag announcement every day with a little review, a short little review of what your child did today. Because too often, even my child, Samantha, who comes home, is in high school now, comes home, what'd you do today? Nothing. And we know that's not true. And I have blessed to have really involved parents, and they want to know, and they don't want to hear. We sit in the back seat, nothing. It's not true. So what we did was, I decided to send out a daily class tag, say, terrific Tuesday, today in 5th grade, your child did this, in 4th grade they did this. And I also give out, important information. I might say, test on Unit 7, test on Friday for 5th grade, or be sure to bring $1 for dress-up day. So it really allows me like an avenue of contact with the home. I also do a weekly newsletter with a Harry Potter format, my classroom's Harry Potter. That's just sent out on Sunday afternoon morning about 10:30 through class tag. And that has all the information for the week, like macroscope instead of a microscope. Microscope is for the day, and that weekly update is for actually the week. So I send that out as well. And I'm always just available on class tag to send messages. If a parent has a concern, Mr. Redding, I heard that we have, something went on today. Can you tell me more about it? And even I'm eating dinner, much of my chagrin of my wife, but she should know, she's a teacher. But sometimes, sometimes she gets a little, what are you doing? I'm like, answer a class tag message. I got to get to this parent. So I just feel really, really, really strongly about parental involvement and teacher involvement too. It doesn't just involve them, it involves us. We have to do our part as well. And I feel that's one of the areas that I do excel in is parent-teacher communication.
Great, great. Ms. Forman, you get to watch all of this energy, excitement go on every day. Explain to us, what is it that you see, hear, and or feel once you visit Mr. Redding's class?
What's funny is I've been with Rivers Edge for 10 years, so not only do I get to see it now, but I got to work alongside him and really experience it. So he actually has a very unique classroom environment. I hear him talk about the differences in quarantine, but an outsider coming in, you don't see or feel those. What you see in his classroom is him challenging students to a whole new level. He teaches the gifted high achieving, but yet those kids still have varying levels where they need different kinds of supports. He still has students with exceptionalities, and what he's great at is engaging the students in learning. When you go into his classroom, the students chant out what the standard is for the day, or they chant out the different expectations for centers, and those kinds of things give them that momentum to get them excited. He does a lot of integration of technology and getting students to really meet their full potential. Truly, it's amazing being in his room.
So let me ask you to please describe Mr. Redding using 3 adjectives, but you got to tell us why you chose those 3.
Okay, his first one is going to be charismatic. And probably for a multitude of reasons. One of the things that stands out the most with him as far as charisma goes is anytime that there is a new staff member or a new student on campus, he's the first one to greet them. And he greets them like he's known them forever. He kind of creates that sense of calm, and he's very personable and can kind of even make the quietest of people really reach within their personalities. I would say that he's also very passionate about what he does. The things that he does in his classroom with his students tend to go above and beyond just paper, above and beyond the curriculum, and he finds ways to draw on those student interests. And then the last one I'd say is caring, in a sense that he sees home barriers that students might have or barriers within school, and he makes it his mission to go above and beyond to support those students and help them overcome the barriers.
Mr. Redding, let me get you to think a little bit outside the box as a wonderful educator. What is your wish for the country as far as it relates to education?
That's a big question. My wish for the country is basically just to invest in education. I think our politicians have been out of the classroom so many years, and not to make it a side versus side issue, but on both sides, they've been in the classroom for many years. They don't really truly know what it takes to really succeed in school. And I want them to give us the tools that we need to succeed. Some things that I think if I were a politician, obviously I'm not good today, but I'm good at making speeches. I'm passionate about the issue is maybe in your low SES neighborhoods to have like a Head Start program where anybody can go and really give them the boost. We have so many kids that if they're not reading by grade 3, we know that school to prison pipeline, and it breaks my heart when I read about that because I read teaching books and research, and we got to do something to stem that tide. So I would say basically to fund something like that, and maybe fund a campaign to get parents motivated, really excited about steering their child through school. It's not just about paying teachers, it's also about giving us the resources, giving us you want to teach the science standards, giving us hands-on tools to use, giving us money for field trips so kids that are in some of those neighborhoods and homes that haven't really left their house can experience all these things that other kids do. It's all about equaling the playing field, and if we do that, I feel our country will be in good hands.
Oh, we felt your passion. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's on.
Yeah, we all know that up until grade 3, they learn to read, and from grade 3 on, they read to learn. So it's very important that investment is made. So, Ms. Forman, what makes Mr. Redding the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
I would say what makes him the perfect candidate is the fact that he is personally invested in his students, but with that, his students also take that ownership. To have a student come to me in the hallway and say, Ms. Forman, I'm stepping my game up. I got this score on my last test. And to know those words are coming out of that child's mouth, but they really came from him.
Yeah, awesome. So let's wrap it up, Mr. Redding. As the Teacher of the Year over at River's Edge, you are the educational ambassador. Could possibly go on to be the Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public. You will have an opportunity to speak to parents, to different guests, community members, possibly decision makers. If you had that chance, what would your message be?
My message is, there's so many non-believers, and politicians in the public today, and so many people downing public schools, just to love us, to trust us, to believe in us. And if we're given the tools and given the time, that will come through for your child. It's the vast majority of us are passionate, just like I am. I mean, there's a bunch of other candidates who will come up here and show you the same passion, and that's why we're here. But just to give us the time and just to trust us and to allow us to do what we do best, which is to educate your child.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Let me leave you with the words of Albert Einstein when he says, "It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge." Thank you for doing that every day with the wonderful students over at River's Edge. Ms. Forman, thank you. And thank you both for joining us today. And congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I come from a big family. I'm the oldest of 6. To me, being the first person to go to college, it's like setting a standard, My little brother is 8 years old now. I challenge his curiosity. I challenge him to dream. I have to paint a picture for him that he can look up to and live up to and possibly be better than. My name is Jaquez, and I am your dividend.
Joining us at this time is the awesome Teacher of the Year from Oak Hammock K-8 School, Miss Alisha Patterson. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have this opportunity to celebrate you and to talk about all the wonderful things that's going on in your classroom. She's brought with her our great friend and principal, Miss Patti Galloway. Welcome, Miss Galloway.
Hi, Dr. Perry. Good to be here.
It is so good to have both of you with us as we celebrate teaching and learning here in St. Lucie Public Schools. We have many viewers that tune in, and they like knowing a little bit about the persons that represent the teaching field here. So, Ms. Patterson, if you would, please give us a little background about you.
I'm Alisha Patterson. I'm from a small town called Christmas, Florida. It's just east of Orlando.
So you love Christmas, don't you?
I do. I attended the University of Central Florida, where I received my bachelor's degree in elementary education. I taught in Orange County for 2 years before my husband's job brought us to St. Lucie County. And I've been teaching in wonderful St. Lucie County for 9 years, all at Oak Hammock and in 3rd grade. And my husband and I have 2 wonderful kids, Cole, who is 6, and Kinsley, that is 2.
Great. We're so glad you made your way over here to St. Lucie County, and we'll just say you came home. That's what we'll
Okay.
Ms. Galloway, would you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. Patti Galloway, principal of Oak Hammock. I am a second career educator, although I've been in education all in St. Lucie County for 20 years. I've taught at all 3 levels, elementary, although my degree, my original certification was elementary education, and taught in middle and high at Lincoln Park Academy, and have been an administrator for Village Green Elementary, Alapattic Flats K-8. Did a stint in human resources here at the district office, and proudly back at a school site, Hammock K-8.
Great. Again, ladies, welcome to the show. So, Ms. Patterson, tell us why you chose teaching as a profession.
I would like to think that teaching kind of chose me. I had some wonderful elementary school teachers, and from a very young age, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I'm the oldest of 3, so I went to school first, and I would come home and sit my little sisters down, and I would teach them what I had learned that day. So from a very young age, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher, thanks to my wonderful elementary school teachers.
So this is a very different year. Let's just jump right into this historic year and times that we're in education. What are you most proud about at your school, even during this time?
I think I'm most proud about how we've all kind of come together. Though there's so many different things thrown our way, we've remained united as a team. You know, we're meeting on Teams since we're not having meetings face-to-face. And just everybody coming together, and still just the collegiality of everybody working together to help us overcome the obstacles that we've faced this school year.
During this time of the pandemic, again, with that same thing, how do you facilitate collaboration between the home and the school?
This year as a school, we're using Class Dojo. So we're using that as our PBIS system, and also I use it to communicate with parents. So I can contact parents through Class Dojo. I also meet with parents on Teams, so instead of the traditional face-to-face conference, so that we still can have that feel of where we can see and hear each other, we meet on Microsoft Teams for parent conferences. I also send emails and phone calls, and I do a monthly project with my students to get the parents involved as well. So each each month, our students have a project to do at home with their families that they get to bring in and present to the class.
Staying with that same theme, okay? How do you actively engage learners during this time?
One way that I've found to engage my learners, even though I'm in the classroom face-to-face with my students, I love doing collaboration and cooperative groups and things like that. So in order to do that safely in the classroom, even though we're face-to-face, I'm actually meeting with them for small group reading and math on Microsoft Teams. So even though I'm in the classroom with them, we got our laptops this year, so I'm utilizing those to still be able to pull small groups safely in my classroom, as small groups are so important, especially I have inclusion students. So just for those students to still get that small group time. So, you know, we utilize the chat feature. I can get everybody's answers. We utilize, you know, the virtual hand, still it works, you know, on Teams. And the kids really enjoy it. They look forward to that small group time. And I've found that because I'm in the classroom with them, there's more accountability. So they're all on there. There's no turning off your camera or anything like that. And I actually have them kind of tilt their screens down a little bit, and I can see exactly what their finger's pointing to and everything right from, you know, my desk.
Cool.
And it's been working really well.
Awesome, awesome. Ms. Galloway, you have the opportunity to experience this magic in Ms. Patterson's class every day. Describe for us what you see, what you hear, and how you feel once you see the learning going on.
Well, if I'm having a bad day, I want to go to Miss Patterson's classroom, because the minute you walk through that door, it truly is magic. She's very, very organized. So when you walk into her classroom, you know, her kids are on task, they're involved. You hear the students, you know, working. There's, you know, a hum in the classroom. They speak with one another. There's a lot of respect shown in the classroom, in the communication with students. I think there's innovation in Miss Patterson's classroom. She was one of the first teachers on our campus that utilized small group instruction using her laptops. And that really came about, you know, I had sent out an email and had said to all staff, you know, look, we really need to be looking at how we can do instruction where we're not bringing students to the table. And Mrs. Patterson and I communicated all weekend back and forth because it was troubling. You know, that's where we do the heart of it. And it's like, I know that we can come up with strategies. And lo and behold, I said, if there's anyone that can do this, Miss Patterson, it will be you, because she is an innovator. And this is what she came up with and has been able to even share with peers and others across the school. So that's the kind of thing when students, when other individuals bring things forth in Miss Patterson's class, there's a respect given to it and thought, and she's able to make things happen, not only from an administrative perspective, but even for her students and issues and problems that they may be bringing forth.
So describe her, please, using 3 adjectives, and tell us why those 3.
Innovative, right? And she is so innovative that she is our go-to staff member. Whenever there is any type of district professional development, she's our go-to person, because we know that not only is she going to go and learn and study, but she's going to bring it back and share it with her peers. I would say that she is diligent. She's very serious about her job and about her work. And she is so focused on having her students perform well. And everything that she does is succinct, and it's direct, and it's focused on where she needs for her students to go. And I would say caring. She knows her students. She knows what their needs are. She knows right off the top of her hat what their their test scores are, what are their learning needs, what are their styles, who do they work best with, and she really cares about their success.
Innovative, diligent, and caring. So, when you think about all of those descriptors, and when you think about your time in the classroom, what are you most hopeful about as an educator?
As an educator, what I'm most hopeful about is that regardless of the pandemic or anything that comes our way, I believe that teachers can overcome those challenges. And I am hopeful that regardless of kind of where our future is with current situation and things that are going on, we will continue to be teaching our students and working to the best of our abilities to make sure their needs are being met and they're making those learning games so that they can be successful.
So, Ms. Galloway, what makes Ms. Patterson the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Ms. Patterson really embodies everything that we know about educators and what's good about educators. And I shared with you already what her classroom focus looks like. But even beyond her classroom, she is respected by her peers. They look to her for guidance. They look to her for leadership, and she provides that leadership. You know, she's small-statured, but very large in presence. She has a voice. She's not afraid to use her voice. She, will look at situations from every angle, come up with solutions, and be able to bring others along with her in that path. But more than that, she's also involved in her community in a larger scale. And so she makes a very strong presence on the community. And so for all of those reasons, her influence goes much further beyond her classroom of 3rd graders. It really has an impact on our community as a whole.
So, Ms. Patterson, you're the Teacher of the Year for Oak Hammock. Therefore, you have become the Education Ambassador. You may have an opportunity to speak to decision makers or be in meetings with the administration and voice your opinion. What would your message be should those opportunities occur?
I think first and foremost, I would be an advocate for educators. Like I've kind of talked about earlier, regardless of what's going on, teachers have one of those jobs where we step up to the plate. We're there for our students. And I think that I would want everyone to know that even though we're facing a lot of different challenges, and even those of us that have been teaching or veteran teachers, this is like a first year again. We have new challenges that we haven't had to face before. But I think I would just let them know that regardless of those challenges, we're still working hard to make sure that our students' needs are being met, and that whatever challenges come our way, if we're in the classroom, if we're virtual, that we will make sure that our students are learning.
Sidney Hook reminds us that everyone who remembers his own education remembers teachers, not methods, not techniques, The teacher is the heart of the educational system. Thank you for being the heart of our education system at Hammock and spreading that to all others, and congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year. Ms. Galloway, thank you both for joining us, and we wish you nothing but the best throughout the rest of this coming year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow.
My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
It's our privilege to welcome to the I told you. Yes, ma'am. We're excited to welcome to our show Brienne Slocum, who's the awesome Teacher of the Year over at Lincoln Park Academy. Welcome to the show, Ms. Slocum.
Hi, thank you.
And she's brought with her the proud principal of Lincoln Park Academy, our great friend, Mr. Henry Sanabria. Mr. Sanabria, hello and welcome.
Hello to you, Dr.
We are always excited when we have an opportunity to share and speak with Teachers of the Year because they represent all of the wonderful teachers that we have here in St. Lucie Public Schools. But briefly, what we ask that you do is introduce yourself to our viewers so that they'll know a little bit more about who we're speaking with.
Sure. Well, my name is Brienne Slocum. I teach right now 9th grade English over at Lincoln Park Academy. This is going to be my 9th year in the district. I attended Slippery Rock University in Pennsylvania, and when I graduated with a degree in secondary education for English, flew to Florida where there were jobs, which was awesome. Best decision I've made. Spent a couple years teaching up north, and then luckily got a job in St. Lucie County, which has been a great choice. So now I'm teaching high school, which I am glad that I'm in high school. It's been wonderful, and I look forward to finishing out the year and for years to come.
Great, great. We're awesome, and we're happy to have you with us here in St. Lucie Public. Mr. Sanabria, would you please introduce yourself to our viewers as well?
Oh, yes, sir. My name's Henry Sanabria, and I am the proud principal of Lincoln Park Academy. I've been at Lincoln Park Academy as their proud principal going on my 7th year now. I will say that I started my educational career at Lincoln Park Academy as an English teacher, so I know the pain that you're going through. Okay. But in any event, it's been a wonderful 15 years, and I am looking forward to serving more as we move forward on this educational journey.
So, Ms. Slocum, why did you choose teaching as your profession?
Well, I have wanted to be a teacher since I was a little girl. Played school at home, and as I got older and had really great teachers who taught me about, I guess, educating students about different cultures and the world and how to be good members of society. It just cemented the idea that that was the place for me to be. And English and the sciences are my 2 favorite subject areas, but English seems to be the best subject area for me to have a great impact on students, to be really successful members of society and learn more about the world around them.
This year is anything but typical, but share with us briefly, what is a typical day in your English classroom?
I will say, even though last semester the majority of my classes were online, I tried to make things as normal for my students, like as what they were used to. So, you know, they still have learning goals, and they have warm-ups, and they have the group work we're working on. That's a little bit of an adjustment for online students. They're still expected to participate. They get feedback from me. And so I didn't want my students who were also facing the challenge of a new learning experience, or the students who were facing a new challenge being in a classroom where they were not interacting in the same method, to have any kind of lacking in their education in any way. So my class period sort of runs the same. You know, we start the day, we have a warm-up, we discuss it, we go over a bell ringer, they have an activity, or we read something, they spend time doing some independent work or group work, we talk about it, they have, sort of just that normal structure. I wanted it to be as normal and comfortable for them as possible so they could adjust.
Every now and then, especially with the pandemic, we run into what I'll describe as a reluctant learner. Mm-hmm. How are you motivating that reluctant learner, that student, should you run into them during this time?
Well, this is something that I run into, especially with online school. A lot of students don't really want to talk. So besides the usual strategies that I've used, like a popsicle stick app or something that randomly calls on their names, one thing, if they don't want to share out loud, they have to submit the discussion board or their work, so then I can go through and say, oh wow, I noticed so-and-so wrote this. This is something that's really cool, and I ask a question about it. I want to continue to build those appropriate teacher-student relationships so they do feel more comfortable, because a lot of students do not, and some do, and I don't want those students to take away, everybody still has a voice in my classroom.
Awesome. Mr. Sanabria, you get to watch the joy and excitement that Ms. Slocum brings to her class every day. Describe for us what you hear, what you see.
Well, when I do walk into her classroom, I see what I refer to as organized chaos. And what I mean by that is students are engaged. They're engaged in the content. They are asking questions. They're becoming more inquirers. And then they are working collaboratively together to come to what the goal is. And that is whether it's, a specific passage within a novel that they've read and they're trying to figure out what the literary devices are, whatever the case may be. But she allows them that time through independent work and then group work, and leverages technology at the same time to engage those students.
So describe her for us using 3 adjectives, and make sure you explain to us why you chose those 3.
Absolutely. The first one is passion. Okay, she is passionate for what she does. She believes in what she does, and she believes in why she does it. The second is dedicated. Okay, she is dedicated and loyal to the school, to her students, to her colleagues, but most of all to her profession. And lastly, self-motivated. She displays that desire to always achieve and go above and beyond the established expectations.
And those are descriptors of a great teacher of the year. So, hearing all of those wonderful things, what do you think has been your greatest impact?
I think I had some students this year I had all my students share sort of what their experience was this semester. And, they could have provided feedback to me about English or as a whole. And one thing that stuck with me, whether they were traditional students in person or they were on the computer virtual students, was that they need somebody to hear them and listen to them and ask if they're doing okay. And I had, and I don't want this to sound like I'm bragging, but there were a few that did say, Ms. Slocum, you paid attention to what we needed. You tailored whatever we were doing to help us learn better. You provided new strategies. And that makes me feel even more passionate and more motivated to help my students, because I want to know that I'm helping them to be more successful. It's not about me. It's about where is their end goal, and how can they be successful based on whatever they learned in my classroom.
It's evident that you do a really good job inspiring your students in your room just by listening to your conversation and Mr. Sanabria's description. But when we think about Ms. Slocum, not just as a teacher, but as a person, what inspires you?
I would say that I'm most inspired by my family, specifically my dad and my paternal grandmother, my father's mother. These are 2 people who have seen tragedy, trauma, health problems, and yet have continued to be faithful to their families, loyal and dedicated to their jobs, maintained their own personal faiths, and always continued to do the right thing. Even it didn't matter how difficult it was, they did the right thing, and they were honest through the whole thing. And I think those two people have really taught me, the kind of person I want to be. That goes into my personal life, and it does feed into my job as well.
So, Mr. Sanabria, what makes Brienne Slocum the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Well, I would have to go back to those 3 adjectives that I used. Not only are they adjectives, those are character traits, and she displays those traits to the utmost. I refer to her as the epitome of the teacher leader that we all need and that other teachers look for when it comes to coaching, leadership, and just someone that they can talk to and get guidance and advice from.
Ms. Slocum, you're the ambassador for education at Lincoln Park Academy. You may be called to speak to decision makers, policy makers. What is your message?
I think in education, we need to reevaluate. We need to look at not just our data of how our students are doing, but we need to make sure we're looking at our students as people. What are how does their home life and their environment affect them? And are we doing everything we can as educators and policymakers to make sure that the educational sort of system that we've created for them is benefiting them to be as successful as possible? Because if it's not, it's just an injustice to them.
Mustafa Ataturk said, "A good teacher is like a candle. It consumes itself to light the way for others." Thank you for lighting the way for those students that you share with and teach with and inspire each and every day. Mr. Sanabria, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year.
Thank you.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation letter.
You're resigning?
Why? Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you eat stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
I forgot. I'll do better.
Please, don't quit on me. Okay, but remember, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
At this time, we want to welcome to our show Ms. Danielle Steele, the wonderful Teacher of the Year at White City Elementary School. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
And she's brought along with her dynamic principal, Ms. Alexandra Laoutas. Welcome to our show.
Hello, thank you for having me as well.
Again, congratulations. We love having the opportunity to celebrate teaching and learning and all that's good and bright that the Teachers of the Year represent for St. Lucie Public Schools. But I'm sure that we have some of our wonderful viewers who would love to know a little more about you. So if you give us a little bit about your background, please.
Okay. I'm so excited that I'm actually a homegrown graduate of Fort Pierce Westwood High School.
Once a Panther?
Once a Panther, always a Panther.
Always a Panther, yes.
Just so proud to now be a teacher in a St. Lucie County public school to service our children. And so I went to Fort Pierce Westwood, graduated from UNF in Florida, then got my master's in education from FAU. I've been teaching for 12 years. I've done 7 years in 4th grade and 5 years in 2nd grade. And this is my 2nd year at White City Elementary.
Oh, welcome, welcome. We love homegrown. We love homegrown. Ms. Laoutas, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm the proud principal of White City Elementary. I've been in St. Lucie County Public Schools since 2007, where I was a teacher, administrator, and a coach as well in various schools throughout the county. And I'm originally from New York, and I graduated my master's degree from FAU.
Great. So, Ms. Steele, tell us, let's break the ice. Why did you choose teaching as a profession?
I chose teaching as a profession. I think as equally it chose me. I chose it because I had some great teachers in my life, especially through the elementary years, which is where my heart is in elementary. And I chose teaching to change each student's life for the better. And I felt that the greatest impact would be on helping kids become who they were created to be through education.
This is a very different year for us. Will be historic. What are your goals for teaching and learning?
My goals for teaching and learning have begun. I'm teaching face-to-face half the day and virtual in the afternoon, and just to continue to keep those relationships positively growing with my students and engage them, whether it be through the computer screen while they're at home or in my classroom. And for curriculum-wise, I have a goal of using our new top score writing to really boost my fourth graders' grades.
So what have you found to be most rewarding so far this year?
What's been most rewarding is finding new ways to connect with the face-to-face children and virtual. I've dabbled in Nearpod and love that for my students. And just even using Teams to still get messages from students asking how I'm doing, speaking to them, how are they doing. And you can still see their excitement and growth even if it's virtual.
As we stated, this is a very different year for us all, and especially our students. So what are you doing to ensure or to improve student achievement?
What I'm doing is I'm definitely using individual data checks with my students. Even if they're virtual, I'm making little appointments with them to keep them in the loop as to where their assessments are, where they're growing, what our goals are, and just making sure that they know how proud I am of them and showing them where they've begun and where they are now and where we're going.
So, Ms. Laoutas, you get to experience this joy and enthusiasm every day. Tell us what you see when you visit the class.
Oh, it's a pleasure visiting her class. I see students engaged in cooperative learning. I see technology being implemented in face-to-face and in virtual. And I see a caring adult in front of children every day, which is so important. Somebody that's there to listen to the students about their personal needs as well as their academic needs. And there's no child that does not love Miss Steele. They go to her with open arms. They want to hug her. They want to visit her. And it's just, I see that enthusiasm in her teaching and the love of learning from her kids.
Ms. Steele, what do you regard as your greatest accomplishment?
I think my greatest accomplishment, first off for professionally, was getting my master's degree, but also transitioning from the private sector of teaching to public sector. I felt a true vocation and calling to help those in St. Lucie County, just like St. Lucie County helped me.
Oh, awesome. So, describe Ms. Steele for us, Ms. Laoutas, using 3 adjectives, and of course we want you to explain why.
First and foremost, I would say kind. She has a kind heart for everybody, and there's nobody that she would turn her back on. She's passionate in everything that she does. She's a leader on campus. She's somebody to go to for administrative tasks, as well as a teacher leader for new teachers and a mentor. And I would say dedicated. There's no task that she would say no to. She's always my cheerleader in initiatives that we're rolling out to new teachers. There's many more I can say, but those really describe Ms. Steele.
Kind, compassionate, and dedicated. So as an educator, when you think about this country in education, what would be your wish for education?
Currently, my wish for education would just be that teachers everywhere embrace the students, whether it's virtually or face-to-face, just as if they were all in our classroom, and feeling that no child would be left behind, and that our policymakers and leaders in the state just continue to support us as schools and our teachers.
So when we think about Danielle Steele, the person, not just the teacher, but the person, what inspires you?
Definitely what inspires me is seeing my students succeed. And when I say succeed, I don't just mean for educationally, but personally, seeing them grow, learn what perseverance is, learn how to take an obstacle and overcome it. Those are some of my things that really bring joy to me.
So, Ms. Laoutas, what makes Ms. Steele the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
She embodies not only the academic side, but the personal side of education, the relationships. She's a great mentor and a candidate because she moves students to the next level academically and, like she said, personally as well. She's somebody that we can count on and to mentor the new teachers, and everything that you think of as a high quality teacher, Ms. Steele is in the classroom and outside the classroom.
So, Ms. Steele, your selection as the Teacher of the Year has kind of elevated you. You have become the spokesperson and representative for teachers and students. So you have to talk to many people. What's your message?
My message is just keeping the students first, making those investments and relationships with students, just staying the course. And I truly believe that a rising tide lifts all ships, and just having teachers know that every day matters in the classroom, that even if you're not seeing that growth right away, it will come, and just knowing that the kids are worth everything we give them.
Solomon Ortiz said, education is the key to success in life. The teachers make a lasting impact in the lives of their students. Thank you for doing just that every day at White City. Laoutas, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on your selection as Teacher of the Year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
We're pleased to welcome to our show at this time Carey Farrow, who's the wonderful Teacher of the Year at Pointe Educational Research School. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, it is such a pleasure for us to have this opportunity to celebrate this selection and celebrate you because you represent all of the fabulous teachers over at Pointe. She's brought along with her our awesome friend, the dynamic principal, Kathleen Perez. Ms. Perez, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We have many viewers that tune in just to keep up with what's going on in St. Lucie Public Schools. So I'm going to ask that we both start by introducing yourselves to our viewers so that they'll know a little bit about the wonderful teachers and principals that we have here. Ms. Farrow.
Hi, I'm Carey Farrow, and I originally went to school at Bowling Green State University in Ohio. I pursued a degree in psychology, and from there I just had this calling to get in education and went back and got a degree in education. Got my master's in elementary education from Florida Atlantic University. And then last December, I just graduated again from Florida Atlantic University with a degree in educational leadership. I worked at Garden City for my first year in St. Lucie County, and for the last 10 years, I've been with Mrs. Perez at Pointe.
Awesome, awesome. Ms. Perez?
Well, I'm Kathleen Perez. I'm the proud principal of Pointe for the last 5 years. Prior to that, I was the assistant principal at Pointe. So I've been there, this is my 11th year. And prior to that, I spent 18 years in the classroom at a variety of different schools throughout St. Lucie County. So I am St. Lucie proud. I come here to Florida, made my home from Boston, Massachusetts. So I'm always proud of my home. But I'm also proud that I earned my degree, my master's degree at Florida Atlantic University. And I couldn't be prouder of our Teacher of the Year. And it's been wonderful because I have been with her all 10 years that she's been at the school. So.
Awesome. So, Ms. Farrow, from psychology to education, even with educational leadership, why did you choose education as a profession?
Well, when I graduated from Bowling Green with my degree in psychology, I became a social worker working at Children's Services. And that afforded me the opportunity to work with a lot of different community agencies. I worked with probation, worked with the courts, worked in schools, and every time I would go into schools, I just felt this calling, like, I want to be in this setting working with children. And so I eventually pursued that, and with every education class, with every field experience, student teaching, it was just affirmation that this was the right choice for me.
So what are your goals for this year?
Definitely, making the students feel safe and secure. That's at the forefront. Ensuring that I'm providing equitable instruction for the students that are brick and mortar as well as the students that are virtual. And student achievement is always, a goal.
So because of the pandemic, this is going to be a historical year.
Yes.
It'll go down in history. We're sure of that. But how do you actively engage your learners, knowing that some are at the My School, some are in person? What are you specifically doing to engage them during this time?
Yes, so that's been something I selected as my DPP this year, just because you said this is historic times. So some of the strategies that I've done with the students that are online is ensuring that I have a roster printed out so that I'm monitoring that each student is answering, bringing my iPad to school so that when they're sending me their responses, I'm a math teacher, so I really need to see their work and being able to provide that feedback and having them send me their work so I can see it, give them the feedback, ensuring those that are not answering, hey, what's going on? I need to see you on camera, corresponding with parents to make sure that they know how well their child is doing. So these types of things.
So Ms. Perez, you have the wonderful opportunity to see the energy, the enthusiasm, the excitement, the work that's going on every day. Tell us what you see and feel and hear when you visit the classroom of Ms. Farrow.
Okay, well, it's always a pleasure, first of all, to visit her class. And I will share with you that over the years, she's a role model for our school. When we are doing instructional walks, when we're doing coaching cycles with our coaches, we always use Carey's room as a model, whether it be pedagogy, her relentless pursuit of making sure that all students in her class are learning. But when you walk into Carey's class, and she's a 6th grade math teacher, everything in her room is about math. But there's this feeling in her room, and she builds this with her students. They're safe. They feel that it's okay to struggle with math. She knows that many students, as they're reaching middle school, do struggle with math. Math may not be their favorite subject, but she has this relentless passion about making sure that all of her students are comfortable. And there's this environment that you hear kids talking to other kids about what they're struggling about. You don't often hear that in every class, and that's set up by the teacher. I see students that are engaged in the class, every one of them. And as she said, whether it's her virtual class or her regular class, she's making sure that every student is accountable and that every student is engaged. And it's an exemplary environment. And there's not a time that I've been in her room or in her virtual class. And she did amaze me. She had over 30 students in that class, and she made sure that every student's voice was heard and that she checked in with every student. So,
if we were to ask you to describe her using 3 adjectives and to tell us why, what would they be?
Results, focused. That's a little hyphenated word, but I'll make it one of them. Carey really has set herself above the rest. She's been teaching math for 5 years, and her scores are some of the highest in the district, and they always have been for the last 5 years. She's not just concerned about proficiency, but she's concerned about learning gains for all students. And every year she says to me, I'm going for 100%. And you know what? She's always in the 90s. And that's because of that focus on monitoring for learning and her focus on really drilling down to the critical content and knowing what her students struggle with and then celebrating those successes. So that's one word. Another word I would say for her is innovative. There's not, she's been teaching math now for 5 years. She's a master at her content, but she's never satisfied with what she already knows. I'll give you an example. She and her partner had recognized that consistently geometry is one of the strands that's the lowest overall each year, and it's taught later in the year. So she and her partner formed a learning community, did research, transformed. I remember walking to her room and would I see the grid on the floor. I mean, everything. So she incorporated that throughout the year because she knew that's what the students struggled with. And as a result, she had much higher results. So that's one example. And then that last one is passionate. She is passionate about her students, she's passionate about her content, and she's passionate about the goals that she sets for her kids each year, and she's going to reach those goals. I mean, she's just an exemplary teacher.
So what makes her the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
I think, you know, because of those three things that I just said, and her relentless pursuit of success for her kids. I mean, that's what teaching's about. I mean, having this passion, having this calling. I mean, there's not a time that I walk into Miss Farrow's class that her kids are not engaged. If I asked her right now, if I walked into her class tomorrow, she could tell me what students were struggling with specifically and what they were being successful with. But not only that, she ensures that her students track their own progress and that they know what their successes are and what they need to be working towards. I mean, she's just, she's a role model. And honestly, she's the best of the best.
So, Ms. Farrow, as Teacher of the Year, you have automatically become the educational ambassador and your representative spokesperson for teachers and for students. You have an opportunity to communicate about the profession to the general public. What's your message?
I believe that education is the great equalizer, and it's just such an amazing profession to be in. It's so rewarding, it's magical. And if I were to communicate to others, I would just say to listen to the students, what they have to say, listen to the educators that are in the position, and follow the advice of the students and the educators.
Brad Henry told us that a good teacher can inspire hope, ignite the imagination, and instill a love of learning in everyone. Thank you for being just that kind of a teacher. Ms. Perez, thank you for joining us. Ms. Farrow, congratulations on your selection as Teacher of the Year for Pointe.
Thank you so much.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
We want to welcome to the show at this time Katie Cook, the wonderful Teacher of the Year over at Parkway Elementary School. Ms. Cook, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And congratulations on your selection as Teacher of the Year.
Yes, I'm very excited.
The proud principal over at Parkway Elementary is the dynamic Miss LaTanya Greene. Ms. Greene, welcome.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
We're so happy that you're here. It gives us another opportunity to celebrate teaching, celebrate what's going on in the teaching profession in St. Lucie Public Schools. We have millions of viewers, and they love meeting and finding out more about the persons that are working with our most precious resources, our students. So, Miss, would you just explain a little, share a little bit about your background with our viewers?
Absolutely. My name is Katie Cook. I have been a teacher for 10 years. I started my career in Broward County when I graduated from Florida Atlantic University with a bachelor's degree in education. I was a teacher in Broward County for 7 years, and then I moved up to Palm Beach County when I got married. And from Palm Beach County, we moved to Tennessee because my husband had a great opportunity up there, so I was a teacher in Tennessee also. And then I started Parkway last year, and this is my second year at Parkway Elementary in St. Lucie County.
We're glad you made your way to St. Lucie County.
Me too.
Ms. Greene, introduce yourself, please.
As you said previously, I am the very proud principal of Parkway Elementary School. This will be my second year at Parkway. I am a product of St. Lucie County. I actually graduated from Lincoln Park Academy in 1990, so go Greyhounds. So it is truly an honor to be able to come back home after graduating from Florida State, having an opportunity to spend some time in Tallahassee teaching and also teaching in Orange County and Orlando, Florida, and being able to come back home and give back to our community and be a part of this dynamic school system. And we just love what we do, and I just love being a pirate, and I love working with children.
Great, great. Thank you again, ladies. So, as we start, briefly tell us, why did you choose this profession?
So I chose this profession because I love to watch the growth of students, even in 1 year, the amount that the students are able to learn. They're like little sponges. You can tell them one thing and they're going to remember it, and they're going to treasure it. And then when you have those high expectations of students, you can get them to work even harder. And building those relationships with students is what I love. And I still continue to talk to students that I've taught 10 years ago in Broward.
So this year, very historic year, is anything but typical. But describe for us what a typical day in Ms. Cook's classroom is like.
Okay, so I start off my day as a virtual teacher. I'm a virtual math and science teacher. I start my day with my students virtually, when I end my day with my students in brick and mortar. So in the beginning of the school day, we do our MTSS, where we do our interventions, and I work with students in a small group setting on the computer. So through Teams, we're working on students, and I teach them math and reading for MTSS to make sure that they're understanding and can build on what they've already known. Then we do our SEL, where we talk about our social-emotional learning and how we can improve the learning of our students and their overall mental health, because that's important right now. We want to make sure that everybody's happy and healthy and that they love coming to school and enjoy it.
You mentioned that you start your day in virtual on My School. So with what's going on again during these very historic times, how do you ensure that your students know that you genuinely care about them?
I think that brings us back to our social-emotional learning. They know I care about them because I build relationships with them. I talk to them until 12 o'clock at night. They send me messages and I respond back to them. I speak with their parents almost daily, contacting them and telling them things that they're doing very, very well. And then I've also contacted students and parents, explaining to them what they need to work on and what we need to improve on together as a partnership.
So what are your goals for this year?
My goals are to make my students as successful as they were last year, even though we're having to mend the gap that we had at the end of the school year last year, but just to make them as successful or even more successful than the students last year.
Mend the gap. I like that. I like that. So, Ms. Greene, you get to experience this joy and enthusiasm every day. When you visit Ms. Cook's classroom, tell us what you see, what you hear, what you feel.
Well, you know, with the unfortunate circumstances of this year, on a positive note of that is that I've had the honor of seeing Ms. Cook do brick and mortar and virtual, because she is our MSB teacher this year. And one thing that I can say that is consistent in her class is the energy that she brings to the classroom. It's the relationship building. Kids are engaged in learning. And I see a teacher that holds students accountable. And she builds those relationships, and they just admire and adore her for that. And they are always engaged. The rigor is always high, and she is a part of her classroom environment. It's not just a lecture and sit and get. It is that if they are not getting it, she is going to do what she needs to do to re-engage kids, to reteach, to differentiate instruction, and again, close that achievement gap and work very diligently towards doing that.
It's evident, Ms. Cook, by your selection as Teacher of the Year, that Parkway is proud of you. But what are you most proud of about your school?
Okay, I love my school and I love the team that I work with. We work really, really well together, and we work really well together in building the relationships with students. Mrs. Greene and I work extremely well and making sure we're doing what's best for children, because at the end of the day, that's what this is about.
So, Ms. Greene, describe Ms. Cook for us using 3 adjectives and tell us why.
Oh boy, only 3. So she is very dedicated to what she does across the board. Even watching her being a parent and having a child, her own child, attend our school, to just being truly dedicated to our students and to our families and to our staff. at Parkway Elementary. She's just an overall truly dedicated pirate. Someone that's goal-oriented. Again, going back to those accountability measures with kids, she set those goals. She informs kids of what their goals, makes sure students understand their goals, and works very diligently towards them. And I would say someone that's very passionate. She holds very deep in her heart and in her spirit to the dedication and passion towards teaching and towards her students and her families.
With what Ms. Greene has just spoken about and what you have shared, what do you think has been your greatest impact?
My greatest impact is probably the relationship building. I think if you can build a relationship with any child, you're going to make them succeed and even push them further than they can push themselves.
So to stay that motivated, there has to be something maybe intrinsic or something extrinsic that pushes and inspires you. What inspires you?
It's the growth that you can instill in a child from the beginning of a school year to the end of the school year. No matter where they started, you can always get them to succeed and to do more than they think that they are capable of, and building their confidence throughout the rest of their life.
Mrs. Greene, what makes Mrs. Cook the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
I believe Mrs. Cook embodies everything that you would want in a teacher, just the epitome of what she delivers and what she brings to the table. I can say that when I had the opportunity to interview Ms. Cook, when we want to talk about dedication and we want to talk about passion and commitment to the field, she had moved here from Broward County, and she actually was pregnant at the time. And going back to why it sends volumes to me when we talk about the Teacher of the Year. The same energy and dedication that she brought to me in the interview, we did not have an opportunity to speak over the summer, and I actually had lost the position that I interviewed her for. And she was committed and dedicated in staying. She was like, I'm coming to Parkway. I am coming to Parkway. I had never met her before, ever. And then to see all of those things come to fruition and blossom in the classroom, and just her depth of knowledge as an individual and the steps that she takes as a leader, all of those things are just instilled in her. It's in her core. And something that we constantly say around Parkway is that, you know, once we realize that this is more about the children and less about us, we'll see great things happen. And when she walks around our campus and when she's interacting with other teachers, all of those things come to the forefront when I think about a Teacher of the Year and what you're looking for, not only if it's just only for Parkway, but for the district and for the state and many moons beyond that. I believe that all of those things are just a part of her.
So, Mrs. Cook, you have become the educational ambassador by your selection as Teacher of the Year at Parkway. We expect you to represent teachers and to represent students and represent the profession. You may have an opportunity to speak to many different people who are decision makers or those that just want to know what's right, what's good, what's best in education. What's your message?
My message would be, if you hold yourself to high expectations and you hold others to those same high expectations, they're always going to succeed, and they're going to succeed beyond what you thought they would be able to do. I would also say that building relationship is the key to success. If you can build a relationship, you will be successful no matter what.
Henry Adams tells us, a teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops. Thank you for influencing the beautiful lives of those students and those staff members that you work with over at Parkway. As Ms. Greene said, we're Parkway proud of you. Ms. Greene, thank you for joining us as well, and congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year at Parkway Elementary.
Thank you.
What if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow.
My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Hello, and again, we want to welcome to the Teacher of the Year Spotlight the wonderful Laura Exford, who is the dynamic teacher at Port St. Lucie High. Welcome.
Thank you.
She's brought along with her our dear friend and the awesome principal, Ms. Brooke Wigington. Welcome, Ms. Wigington.
Thank you for having us today.
Let's start off by first of all congratulating you on this wonderful honor.
Thank you.
Being selected as the Teacher of the Year, it's marvelous. We have many viewers that tune in, and what we want to start off by doing is asking you to briefly introduce yourself to our viewers so they'll know a little bit more about the wonderful Ms. Exford.
My name is Laura Exford, and this is my 25th year of teaching. I started in a rural town in New York State, so way up near the Canadian border. I was also educated there. I'm a SUNY Potsdam graduate, and I've moved around a little bit. 3 years in New York State, came down to Florida, did a long time down here, bumped back up to South Carolina for a couple of years, and have found my home back here at Port St. Lucie High School.
Well, we're glad you came back home.
I am too, thank you.
Great. Ms. Wigington, would you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yes, I'm in my second year as principal at Port St. Lucie High School. I've been with the county now since 2005, starting at Forest Grove, and obviously I was also the assistant principal at Port St. Lucie High.
Great. Again, ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Exford, let's start off by asking, why did you choose teaching as a profession?
I'm not sure if I chose teaching as a profession or if it chose me. My dad is a retired educator, and I remember as a kid, he would come home with his papers and be grading them, and I would beg him to let me grade them, and he would be more than happy to let me. And so I think that kind of put it in my mind that education was the area where I needed to be. And when I was older and really sat and thought and reflected about what it is that I'm passionate about, I was thinking about language, words, literature, and it was an easy decision from there to say I wanted to be an English teacher.
So it's in your DNA?
I think so.
Okay, yeah. So, an English teacher, during this time with COVID, the pandemic, and we know it's going to go down in history as a, what's a typical day, if there is such a thing, during this time in your classroom?
Okay. A typical day would be me greeting my students at the door, them coming in, us chit-chatting for a few minutes. They would tell you, my students would probably tell you that I tell the worst jokes, and I probably do. From there, we would get into a review of what we've done in the previous day, and then I would look at the agenda, tie it into our standards and why we're doing what we're doing today, roll out the lesson, and at the end, if it's a one-day lesson, we would wrap it up, make sure that they understood. If it was a carryover, I would make sure that we've wrapped it up and they knew where we were going from there.
So how do you engage students during this time again with the pandemic?
Well, with my virtual classes, it is a challenge, and I again try to engage them in conversation at the beginning, and I ask them how they're doing on a scale of 1 to 5. How's their day going? And they like to joke a little bit about that and tell me they're a -3 or anything like that. They like to bust chops a little bit. And so I try to engage them and let them know that I do care about them as individuals, and I know that this is a difficult time. And from there, I try to also do a lot more formative assessments as we're going through the lesson, since I'm at a disadvantage and I can't really gauge their learning based on their face or by walking around looking over their shoulder. So I do a lot more formative assessments with my virtual students as I check for their understanding virtually.
So, Ms. Wigington, you have the wonderful opportunity to see all of this happen, roll out on a daily basis. Tell us what it is that you see, hear, and or feel when you visit Ms. Exford's classroom.
Well, she offered a really good summary. When I've been very fortunate to see her in her virtual classroom, and the students are engaged. They're enjoying it. She really does care for their well-being and their academic success. Her goal is obviously to provide them the best high-quality lessons she can so that they are learning their standards. Her big strength is writing, and you can definitely see that and feel that. Her students really do learn to enjoy writing as they go through, whether it's in the virtual or in person.
So, describe her, please, using 3 adjectives and explain why.
First one I would say is dedicated. As I mentioned earlier, she's very dedicated to providing her kids with the best lesson that they would need to help them be successful. Next, I would say collaborative. One of her strengths is definitely working within her collaborative learning and planning team. I hear a lot of positives from her teammates. She's reflective. As she mentioned, she's had a very broad experience in education, and she brings a lot of strengths to the team and offers a new creativeness. And they've been able to have a lot of success this year, whether it was virtual or in person. Lastly, I would say compassionate. She really cares about her students. Last year, I had the privilege of going into her room to, just chit-chat with her and see how she was doing. And she had a student in there during lunch who was having a tough time that day. And it was that connection that she makes with the kids, that they want to go see her, but they also want to make her proud in the classroom. So she's got a really big heart, and she's in this profession for the right reasons.
Ms. Wigington said, dedicated, compassionate, and collaborative. I'm sticking with the theme of the pandemic. How do you facilitate collaboration between the home and the school, knowing that you also have those students in the virtual world?
To collaborate between home and school, if I'm reaching out to parents, I need to set the tone early that I am coming across as an ally with them. So if I'm reaching out to a parent because I see a student is struggling, I make that first contact a phone, so that they can hear the voice and they can see or they can hear the tone of voice that I'm coming through. And I do come from a place of concern, and I ask the parent to kind of help me out a little bit, and that working together we can try and shift their child back in the right direction so that they can find some success at school. And it has been difficult for the virtual students to gather that success. And with the parents' help, I've been pretty successful in getting them back on track.
So let's switch gears just a little, and let's talk about Laura Exford, the person, not just the teacher, but the total person. What are you most hopeful about?
I am hopeful that we as a society are going to come through this pandemic together. We're going to come through stronger. We're going to find our way through it, and that we will be brought together in some manner. I'm hopeful that we can heal some divisions that have come up in our country in the last year or two.
What do you think has been your greatest impact?
Professionally? Okay. Teaching 25 years, I'll ballpark maybe 3,000 students, and having a small part in their education. I think that's been my greatest impact, having a small part in developing who they turn into as an adult and guiding them a little bit with their education.
So, Ms. Wigington, tell me, what makes Ms. Exford the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Her commitment to education. She's been in teaching or education or some form of education for 25 years. But on top of that, she's committed to her students, her coworkers. Her goal is for everyone she comes in contact to succeed in any way, which way she can help them.
So, Ms. Exford, let's wrap it up with this question. As Teacher of the Year, you automatically become the spokesperson and representative for teachers, for students, for Port St. Lucie High School. You may have an opportunity to speak with lawmakers, the superintendent, school board members, policymakers, decision makers. What's your message?
I think I would remind them that teachers are professionals, and that to have a little bit of faith in our ability to create engaging lessons that are standards-based and that are going to drive results. I think I would ask them to consider loosening the tight reins that they have a little bit and giving some of that control back to teachers to develop the curriculum.
I'm going to piggyback off Mrs. Wigington's heart statement about you and leave you with the words of Elizabeth Andrews when she said, "Good teaching comes not from behind the desk, but from behind the heart." Thank you for having a wonderful heart for those students. Ms. Wigington, thank you for joining us, and congratulations again on your selection as Teacher of the Year.
Thank you very much.
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea. Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
It's our pleasure to welcome this time the wonderful teacher from Morningside Elementary, the Teacher of the Year, Kristen Lee. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
She's brought along our wonderful principal there, Ms. Kathleen Melrose. Welcome.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
It's a pleasure for us to have this opportunity to first say congratulations to you and introduce you to our viewing audience because they want to know a little bit more about the teaching staff here in St. Lucie Public Schools, but get a peek into the life at Morningside as well. So let's start by introducing yourself briefly to our viewers.
I am originally from Buffalo, New York, and I moved down to Florida in 2010. I went to SUNY Buffalo State, and I have a bachelor's degree in childhood education, as well as a master's as a literacy specialist. While I was working on my master's, I was recruited to come to St. Lucie County, and I am very excited that I came here. I've been very happy ever since.
We're excited that you're here as well. Ms. Melrose, same thing, please.
This is my 4th year at Morningside, home of the Blue Jays, and it's an amazing place to be with an amazing staff, students, and community.
Welcome again, ladies. So, Ms. Lee, tell us, why did you choose teaching as a profession?
I have always loved kids, and I've always wanted to make a difference. I want to be that person in their life that changes things for them, that makes things better for them. And I love seeing the students grow and learn every day. And it's so important to be that role model for them so they have someone to look up to, and so they want to be successful themselves and become a contributing member of society.
These are very historic times that we're living in, that we're teaching in. Describe for us a typical day in your class, if there is such a thing.
Yes, in my classroom, the students are greeted at the door every morning. And when they come in, we have those casual conversations about what's going on in their lives. And then we start the day with what we call problems of the day. So they have a nice review of skills that we've been working on in all subject areas. And then when we get into the subjects, we review what we had learned from the previous day. And we work on the standards-based, rigorous instruction so that I know that the students are getting the best quality instruction and that they're learning what they need to know. And based on their performance, we do exit tickets, and then I see where the students are with that particular skill for the day, whatever target we are working on. And so once we have looked at those, then we go into small group instruction and we target those skills that they still need to work on, or they're provided with enrichment activities to further their knowledge if they are successful in that area.
So what is the, how do you actively engage students during this time?
Oh, we just have fun. I tried to make learning fun, so they are engaged and they want to learn. I've done many different things. Mrs. Melrose happened to walk in when we were using shaving cream to do math one day, but it's math. You know, we were working on their desk, they're writing numbers, and they want to do it. It's fun. We work with black lights, and they use highlighters, so that it gives them incentive to want to do it, and they're excited to do it. And those are things we can still do during times like this. And even though we can't have them, you know, sitting in groups, they are still doing things where they can turn to a partner and talk. So we're still doing many things to engage the students, so they still are excited to learn and they want to learn.
Mrs. Melrose, I could see your face now when you walked in and the room was full with shaving cream on the desk. So tell our viewers, what is it that you see, hear, or feel when you visit Mrs. Lee's class?
It's always exciting to walk into her classroom. As soon as you walk in, you feel the genuine love
and the community in that room, first and foremost. The social emotional learning in that classroom is so evident. That's what you feel. You feel it when you walk in. What you see is exactly what she said, fun learning. The kids have no idea how deep she's making them dive because she does it in such an engaging and fun way. It's definitely a student-centered classroom with the kids taking the lead role in their learning and Kristen facilitating that learning and encouraging every child to be successful. It's an amazing place to be.
Amazing place to be, student-centered, making students deep dive.
Yes.
So describe her for us, please, using 3 adjectives. Tell us why as well.
Absolutely. I'm going to start with empowering. Kristen is an empowering leader at our school, first and foremost. She's the team leader. She empowers each and every one of her team members to be a leader as well. Not only does she empower her own team, she empowers other teams because she mentors others. She's the role model, the team leader role model at our school. And she would never admit it because she's also extremely humble, but she does a great job empowering others. I'm going to say also resourceful. When you enter the times that we did with the pandemic, you need those teachers who are going to rise to the top and become that resource for others. And that's exactly what Kristen did. Her technology knowledge, helping others navigate through Canvas, helping others navigate through Nearpod, helping others navigate through Teams. She was able to do that easily. So she's been such a support for our entire staff. And then I'm going to say determined. She is one of the most determined teachers I've ever met in my career. All kids is Kristen. Every single child needs to be successful for her. Otherwise, she does not feel successful. So that determination is what leads to her success, and she is very successful.
Empowering, resourceful, determined. So Kristen, Ms. Lee, as an educator, when you think about what happens in your class, the fun, the energy, the descriptors that Mrs. Melrose shared with us, what are you most hopeful about as an educator?
I want to see my students be successful in the long term and the short term. I want to see them be successful in my classroom and move on to 4th grade and be prepared for that. But I also want to see them successful in life. I recently found out one of my former students is now teaching in St. Lucie County. That feels so good to know that you have made a difference in your students' lives, that they are now doing things as adults to be successful, to contribute, and they're giving back the same way, you know, that I taught them. That student is now a teacher. So I'm just hoping for the best for all of my students, again, short term through 3rd grade, but also in the long term in life, that they are able to be successful and do well.
Let's focus on life at Morningside. What are you most proud about your school?
Oh, I am proud of so much at my school. I am proud of my principal. I am proud of the people that I work with. I am proud of my students. I love working at Morningside. It is an amazing place to be. We are a family there. It really is a family. We are there for each other. We are there to support each other. And it's just such a great place to be. And you almost don't want to leave. And so, you know, I'm just so proud of that. I'm so proud to work there. I'm proud to say I work there. And I'm proud to represent Morningside because we are such a family. We work together. We problem solve together. And we have such a great principal to support us through all of that.
So, Mrs. Melrose, what makes Ms. Lee the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Just walking into her classroom, she is a dynamic teacher. She's a dynamic leader, and I think she would represent this county perfectly as Teacher of the Year because she has it all.
Let's wrap it up, Ms. Lee. You have been selected the Teacher of the Year for your school. Could possibly go on to be Teacher of the Year for St. Lucie Public. You are automatically the voice, the educational ambassador. Have an opportunity to speak to parents, decision makers. What's your message?
My message would be to do what challenges you. You know, do what scares you. And that would be my message, because it applies to both students and teachers. If I'm that voice, I want to speak to both the teachers and the students. We grow when we move outside of our comfort zone. There are going to be things that are challenging, and they're hard, and they might scare you. But when we move outside of that comfort zone, we're able to change and grow. And I've found that every time I have stepped outside of my comfort zone, if something scared me, if something challenges me. And that's how we grow, and that's how we get better. And I would love to see students doing that, and I would love to see teachers doing that. Mrs. Melrose mentioned that I'm the team leader. When that first was presented to me, that scared me. I knew it was going to be a challenge, but I'm so thankful because I've grown so much from that. And I want to see my students grow as well when they do what challenges them. I want to see teachers grow when they do what challenges them.
Do what scares us.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. Let's leave you with these words. Teachers inspire dreams, shape lives, and give hope for the future. Thank you for all that you do over at Morningside. Ms. Melrose, thank you for joining us, and congratulations again on your selection as Teacher of the Year.
Thank you so much.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Joining us at this time is Lori Ann Foley, the dynamic Teacher of the Year from Savannah Ridge Elementary School. Ms. Foley, welcome.
Hello to everybody.
Yes, and of course, that wonderful principal there, Mr. Roberto Bonsignor. Bonsignor, welcome.
Thank you, welcome.
It is a pleasure to have this opportunity to speak with you about all that's going on at Savannah Ridge and your selection as Teacher of the Year. But we have to introduce you to all of our viewers, so if you would share just a little bit of your background with our viewers.
I am from Connecticut originally, came to St. Lucie County back in 1986, so that's been quite a few years ago. I came as a first grade teacher and have taught numerous other grade levels, mostly ESE. I did gifted for 5 years, and I am now the media specialist. So I like to diversify. I have a wonderful husband, Dan. We've been married for 35 years. I have 4 children between the ages of, well, my oldest is going to be 30 in April, and my youngest is 21. So there's 2 boys, 2 girls. So,
awesome.
And they are my crowning joy.
Cool, cool. That's great. Mr. Bonsignor, would you introduce yourself briefly to our viewers as well?
Sure. I am originally from the Dominican Republic and raised in New York City, where I studied and did my undergraduate, and then came to Miami to do my graduate, and then back to New York, and then now I've been in St. Lucie County since 2008, which is my home now, and I love it here. And I've embraced it, and I don't miss the weather. That's what I can say.
The cold weather.
The cold weather.
Yeah. So, Ms. Foley, why did you choose teaching as a profession?
This goes back to when I was in 4th grade, and my teacher let each of the students during the last part of the year teach a lesson. And each of us got to teach something. I got to teach the weekly reader, and this is just very vivid in my mind. And at the last day of school, the students all got to vote on who they thought did the best job, and I won. And so that began my wheels turning and thinking that, yeah, this is probably what I want to do. And then the following year, when I was in 5th grade, I did read the Helen Keller story and fell in love with sign language and decided that, well, maybe hearing impaired is what I wanted to do. So I did pursue a degree to get my hearing impaired from Flagler College.
So I typically talk about a library. I know it's a media center now, but it's the home of the scholar. There's so much going on there, research, books, knowledge, learning. What's a typical day like for you?
Well, there is no typical day, of course, especially with this pandemic. Basically, I see 6 classes a day. I do virtual classes as well. and just trying to engage those virtual kids. And they do love when I come on. They're like, yay, Mrs. Foley's here. And I'm like, that makes me feel so good. And when they come to class, they get a story. They always get a read aloud, because I feel sometimes teachers don't have time to do that in their classrooms, which is sometimes very sad. So I want to make sure that they do get a read aloud, and I want to introduce them to various authors, various nonfiction topics. Just today I was doing a lesson on penguins, and so usually I choose a theme and I try to do that throughout the week with all of the classes, and doing just various research or little art projects, or just something, you know, in between, just, you know, picking out a book. So it's not just come to the library, be silent, and do your work. No, I just want the kids to come in and feel like they have a voice in what they choose to do. They do get choice. I have a board with some writing assignments on it, and not, you know, just not personal things, just kind of random things. And then they do little things on, you know, by choice.
So, Mr. Bonsignor, you're lucky because you get to go to the home of the scholar and watch Miss Foley in action. Tell us what's life like when you see her with her students.
Well, when I first started visiting the classroom, Miss Foley's classroom media center, I was taken by the level of noise. That worried me because it was a media center, but I then quickly learned that it was because of the engagement that each of them had, and she was able to differentiate the needs of the kids. If they were in 4th grade and they were at a 2nd grade reading level, she made sure that they were there was some alignment of meeting their needs, so they wouldn't be frustrated in reading and doing any activities that they would be doing. And then when you go to her classroom on a Friday, where she has Fun Friday, the engagement is even higher. So she is able to really meet the needs of all with her background in ESE and her background at different grade levels, and even with gifted. So I love going in there. It's very inviting. The kids love going in there. It's not intimidating for the kids. That's something that is impacting for me. Because kids don't usually like to go to the media center. So I see them excited before they go in, as if they were going to PE. So that says a lot to me.
So describe her for us, please. 3 adjectives and tell us why.
Oh, wow. Flexible is one. She is able to do whatever needs to be done as long as it's for the well-being of the kids. She is engaging. She really makes sure that the kids are engaged, and also the staff if needed. She has a professional library for the staff where they are able to come in and pull out any books as necessary, and she has come to me for those resources as well. Nurturing. She is very nurturing. She's like a mom, yet structured. She knows when to put her foot down, but the kids see her as a parent, not just as a teacher in there, and I see that, and it's very, very authentic.
As we think about this time that we're in, historic times, I believe that if the country ever needs anything, they really turn to educators. So as an educator, especially during this time of the pandemic, what are you most hopeful about?
I would like to see more support for parents, especially with a lot of the technology. I don't know how that can be achieved, but I was hoping that the parents would somehow be able to get more information on how to help their children at home. As an ESE teacher, I was in constant contact with the parents, and I always saw so much growth when I knew the parents had a clear direction about where they were going and what they were doing with their children. Me being a media specialist, it's hard to get so close to 500 plus children, but I try, and I always ask every class, you know, do you need any help with anything? Is there any questions I can ask? Always leave maybe like 5 minutes at the end of the day to try to do that. And I'm finding, especially with the online parents, that the parents are there as well, and the parents are asking me questions, and I'm trying to answer them as best I can too. But it is difficult with that. So I'm hoping that the parents will become a little more comfortable with online learning.
So when we think about your stellar career as an educator, what do you regard as your greatest accomplishment?
Oh, that's very difficult. I think probably the best accolade that I could get is not from any outside interest as, as far as being teacher of the year. I think it's if a parent or a child comes back to me in the future and says, "Oh, Mrs. Foley, I really remember that lesson that you did," or "I remember this little activity that we did," or "You made me want to become this in life because we did that unit," just to empower other children as well. And I have in the front of my library the multiple intelligences, because kids always think that they need to have high test scores to be successful. And I said, no, you don't. You can be a good artist. You can be a great athlete. You can be a good whatever. But whatever it is, have the passion to do what you choose to do in life. So it seems like when I get down sometimes, and it's like, well, am I meant to be an educator? And then I get a call or an email or something that says, "Oh, Mrs. Foley, my child was in your class a few years ago and they had to write about someone that inspired them and they chose you." And I'm like, okay, then I'm supposed to be here. So it just very much empowers me to just keep on going and touch as many lives as I can.
That's awesome. Mr. Bonsignor, tell us, what makes Mrs. Foley the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
Well, she is a true educator that is well-rounded. The things she does at the school is not just for showing up. It's for every child. She pulls for MTSS. She has done gifted. She's done every grade level at the elementary level. Her passion is very genuine, and she is part of so many educational organizations, such as FAME, Florida International, Florida Literacy Organization, and the International Literacy Organization. She's part of our SAC team. She's involved across the board as well.
Wow. So let's wrap it up, Ms. Foley. You are the educational ambassador for Savannah Ridge, possibly St. Lucie Public Schools. You are the voice, makes things happen. What's your message?
Every child, every day, the St. Lucie way, obviously, is one thing that I do follow. But just to make sure that every child knows that they are valued, no matter what walk of life, no matter how much money they have in their bank account, no matter anything else, that every child is special and deserves to be treated as such.
Well, I'll leave you with these words. Teaching is not a profession, it's a passion. Thank you for having the passion to share with those beautiful students each and every day. Mr. Bonsignor, thank you for joining us. And Ms. Foley, congratulations on your selection as the Teacher of the Year for Savannah Ridge Elementary.
Well, thank you. I'm very honored.
We want to welcome the dynamic Miss Lauren Kepler to our show. She is the Dynamic Teacher of the Year over at Westgate K-8 School. Welcome, Miss Kepler.
Thank you.
She's brought along with her Christy Parker, the Dynamic Principal. Miss Parker, welcome.
Thank you.
We love to share with our viewers all of the wonderful things that's happening here in St. Lucie Public. So would you please briefly introduce yourself to our viewers?
I am Lauren Kepler. I teach at Westgate K-8. I am originally from Florida, born and raised. There's not very many of us left, but born and raised. I graduated from the University of Central Florida with my degree in social science education. I had the unique opportunity to work at NASA as an educational specialist for a few years under a grant program through Bethune-Cookman and University of Central Florida. I still get to work with them on occasion. I actually just helped out with the last launch. And then as far as answering questions and things like that for some of the people. And then I had the opportunity to work for Florida Virtual School as well, and then come here in St. Lucie County and work at Southern Oaks Middle School, and then in my current place at Westgate teaching civics. And I've taught civics in St. Lucie County the entire time.
Well, you know, you just warmed my heart when you said Bethune-Cookman. You do know that, right?
That's awesome. awesome.
Yes, yes. Ms. Parker, would you please introduce yourself to our viewers?
I'm Ms. Parker, and I have been the principal at Westgate for the past 6 years.
So let's jump right in. Why did you choose teaching as your profession?
I chose teaching because I was a student growing up with learning disabilities that I still struggle with today. And at one point, I was sat down and told, you know, with your parents, you might need to start thinking about what vocational track you're going to take. And I knew that that's not what I wanted. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to do something other than a vocational track, even though that's not a bad thing and some individuals need that, but that wasn't for me. And so I had a teacher sit down with me and say, I realized that, you know, they're telling you you may not get a normal diploma and that's what you want. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to break those barriers? How are you going to get out of those ESE classes and become a mainstream student? And ever since then, my drive and my passion for helping, inspiring students who are like me, that's why I became a teacher, so that there will never be another child that has to be told that you can't be what you want to be and be held back by things that you struggle with.
These are very different times that we're living in, that we're teaching in, historic times. So what is a typical day like, especially what's going on in the world today in your classroom?
A typical day in my classroom is greeting my students first and foremost, letting them know, asking them, you know, how was your day? Looking and seeing, hey, did anybody get new shoes over a break? Or, hey, look, you got a new hairstyle, and meeting them at the door and saying, and greeting them and looking at them first and seeing what their needs are. Do they need a drink? Do they need to go to the bathroom? Did they struggle with anything? What needs can I address first with them before I move forward in my day? And then getting into the nitty-gritty of, okay, let's get down to business. Let's, you know, as they're doing their bell work, I'm walking around asking them, hey, how are you doing? Hey, how did that thing work out from yesterday? Hey, how did that baseball game go? You know, what is going on? And then moving on into working with them in their interactive notebooks and asking them, is this working for you? Is this not working for you? And really looking at what meets the student, whether it is through technology, using the interactive notebook and trying to go between the two, because we are in different times, and you know, technology is kind of at the forefront right now, and that's probably the better way to do things in the times that we're in, but also knowing that not all students are technology driven. So what else can I integrate in my classroom to make sure that they're comfortable as they get used to the technology?
So how have you made adaptations to instruction, to teaching, to learning during this pandemic time that we're in?
Oh man, so many things. So I teach some classes straight online. So I have 2 classes online and I have some in person. And so some of the adaptations that I've made is by integrating some of our technology, such as Nearpod, and exploring it with my students and showing them really, you know, so many students we don't realize don't know how to save files, how to make a PowerPoint. So going above what I'm just teaching in civics, but also teaching them how to actually use technology in their favor. How can they use it to study? What are some more study tools rather than the old study tools? Teaching them what's out there like Quizlet and how they can better use Canvas to save things and get ready. So kind of having a mixture of traditional and integrating that technology.
Ms. Parker, you have an opportunity to visit the classroom every day. What is it that you see and that you admire when you visit?
I would say the number one thing is when you walk in her classroom, her students are excited to learn, they're engaged, and she teaches a topic that not all kids are, you know, excited to learn, or it's not an easy topic to learn. However, her kids are so much inspired by what she does each and every day, and they do bring up constant questions on what's going on around the world and how does it apply to them in real life situations. And they take that and they go with it. Even when they're in high school and they come back to visit her, or they write to her, you know, when they're in college and all the things and the impact that she's made. So I just see somebody that's inspirational, that's constantly working with the kids, and you know, a classroom like no other, where it's a constant real life situation every day, and engaged for the content that she teaches because of her passion behind it.
So describe her for us using 3 adjectives and tell us why you chose those 3.
That is such a difficult thing to do because it's so easy usually to pick any 3 words, you know, for typical teachers, the top teachers you've seen. But Lauren's like nobody I've ever seen before or anyone I've ever met before. She's very humble, no matter whether it be her expertise in her content, her relationships with her kids, and just her overall compassion for everybody. I mean, just the whole human being. She's also very transformative. No matter what you do and whatever challenge you give her, she's going to find a solution for it, and she's going to make sure that it works for every single kid that would ever walk in her classroom. She has transformed what civics looks like, not only in her classroom, our campus, but also as a district. You know, she works with all the district teachers, and you can see that, and the results of her success is, you know, evident within her data. I mean, she's one of the top scoring teachers in the entire district and probably the state. And then the last one I would say is life-changing, because when you meet Lauren, she has definitely changed your life for the good, not only for the content she teaches, but for who she is. And she just touches your heart in just a different way than anyone you could ever meet.
Humble, transformative, and life-changing. So when you think about those descriptors and the work in your classroom, what are you most happy about?
Oh, my students' success and my students' happiness, and my students feeling comfortable and loved and wanted to be there, and that they're successful in whatever it is that they choose to do.
Let's go beyond Lauren Kapler, the teacher. Heard you talk about work at NASA and some other things. What are your interests outside of teaching that you may connect to teaching?
Oh, of course, I love space, I love NASA. So connecting that with my students, and sometimes that reluctant learner who doesn't like social studies, if I could maybe find something else that interests them and I can pull them in and say, hey, you know, I have this cool thing that I did, and, you know, here's some pictures, and kind of change their attitude that it's, you know, yes, they may not like this subject, but we can connect in another way. I love being outdoors. I love being with my family, and I absolutely love sports. And so my husband and I enjoy going to sporting events. And so I connect with my students, especially my boys and girls, both alike. And I can kind of connect in that when they are like, wait, you watched that basketball game last night? Or you watched that football game? I can hear them in the background talk, like, did you see that? And they're like, wait a minute, you know what we're talking about? So that's how I can kind of make those connections and be authentic with them.
Mrs. Parker, what makes Mrs. Kapler the perfect candidate for Teacher of the Year?
In my 18 years in education, I can truly say that she is beyond top-notch teacher that I've ever seen. She is definitely the top of my list of, she defines everything an educator should be, everything a good human should be. I honestly think it would be crazy for her not to be the actual winner of St. Lucie, but also even the state. I mean, she exudes every single thing that you'd want your child to be around, whether it be an educator or just somebody that she knows, because she goes over and beyond. And like I said, she's very humble. She held back all the things that she does within the community and all the projects she's done and all the things that she's done with her students and the experiences she's provided to them. But like she said, she gets to know not only her students as a person, but even all the adults on campus. So she really knows who they are, what they're about, what makes them tick, and she will always be there by their side if anyone needs anything.
So Ms. Kapler, your selection as Teacher of the Year automatically makes you the educational ambassador. You are the voice. What's your message?
My message is that we are in unprecedented times, and we need to give ourselves a break. And also, we need to love one another and be kind and show compassion and know that at the end of the day, that we're in this together. We'll make it through. And that education, yes, is so important, but there's a whole nother level to it to get to that end result of seeing those students walk across that stage. And that it takes a village. It takes our parents, it takes our grandparents, it takes our students, it takes our politicians. It takes everybody coming together to make this happen. And that we might need to take a step back and look at, what are we doing? are we meeting the needs of our students? Are we meeting the needs of our parents? Are we meeting the needs of our teachers to make all of this happen? Because we're changing, and I don't ever see us coming back fully from where we're at. We're gonna, technology has been pushed and it's not going away. And that's great, that's not a bad thing. But how can we embrace it? And how can we help our students and our parents who are reluctant? And how can we support them in other ways? Because people are dealing with things that we don't see.
Ms. Parker said that you go above and beyond. So let's close by me saying to you, to learn and never be filled is wisdom. To teach and never grow weary is love. Thank you for your love of the profession, love of what you share with your students. Mrs. Parker, thank you for joining us. And Mrs. Kapler, congratulations on your selection as Teacher of the Year at Westgate K-8.
Thank you.
Fancy pants peanut butter? A big screen television? You haven't even bought a sofa yet. A motorcycle? When your father finds out, he's gonna flip his shoes with 2 buckles? What do you even need 2 buckles for? Mr. Big Shot, buying whiskey shots for everybody in the bar. From the looks of it, I'd say nobody even remembers. Feed the pig.
So at this time, we say thank you to those wonderful teachers for being such wonderful, exemplary role models and caring people. Thank you for the work you do every day to make the world a better place by the lives you touch. We are better because of you.